Carlos Alcaraz won his maiden Wimbledon trophy, Novak Djokovic himself said in the post-match interview that he reminds me a little bit of myself, a little bit like Nadal, and a little bit like Federer. Now that is in fact a scary thought, because if you look at Djokovic, if you look at Alcaraz, analyze his game, you'll realize that Djokovic was actually spot on. This man, or this young boy, is basically a Frankenstein's monster, taking the best parts from all of the three greatest ever men's tennis players to have ever played this sport. It is in fact a scary thought, especially when you consider that of the young generation, the next generation, no one has really come close to posing the kind of threat that Alcaraz has to the wanted top three. Of course, now top two, given the fact that Roger Federer has officially retired. But believe it or not, there is one way, or in fact two ways, where he is actually some ways ahead of the wanted members of the top three. Believe it or not, it is actually correct, because this is just showing you once again the kind of rise that Alcaraz is set for if he can keep going on this path and if fitness remains his friend. What are those two metrics? Well, let's get to that right now. First off, if you're talking about the gap between winning your first and second Grand Slam. Now, if you look at these numbers, you'd realize that it did take some time. Roger Federer, it took him just one Grand Slam. He won his next Grand Slam title right thereafter. It took Rafael Nadal 2 Grand Slams. And of course, if you're going to sit back and tell me that no, it took Nadal more than 2 and it took Alcaraz more than 1, you have to remember that we're not counting here Grand Slams that they missed due to injury. We're talking about Grand Slams that they won, or which they won, having played in or participated. So for Alcaraz, the gap is only 1, because he didn't play the Australian Open, he played the French Open, and then that French Open is the 1 Grand Slam gap between him winning the 2022 US Open and then the 2023 Wimbledon. He didn't play in Australia, but look at these numbers. It took Federer just 1 Grand Slam's gap. It took Nadal 2. It took Djokovic 11 Grand Slam attempts to win his second title in the slams. That is how not easy it is to actually get to even being a multiple-time Grand Slam winner. We know that the likes of Federer, Djokovic and Nadal have really spoiled us when it came to winning multiple Grand Slams. After all, we're talking about 3 guys who have 5 Grand Slams between them. That is massive. But it's really not an easy feat. In fact, it took Djokovic 11 tries to win his second Grand Slam. Alcaraz, though, it only took 1. And in that sense, he's level with Federer. But there is one place where he's, believe it or not, ahead of all 3 of the wanted top 3. That is the attempts to win the least favored slam. Now, if you're talking about least favored slam in the case of Federer, Nadal and Djokovic, we'll of course talk about the ones which it took them the longest to win. It took Federer 10 attempts to win the French Open. Remember, he made his debut in 99 and he won the French Open in 2009. So that's a 10-year gap. It took Rafael Nadal 4 attempts before he finally won Wimbledon, which is easily his least favored surface. Same can be said about Djokovic and the French Open. It took him 11 attempts to win the French Open. So that is a very long time. Whereas Alcaraz, remember, his least favored surface in that regard actually would be grass, because he has all of the traits to be a clay court player, and the attempts that he's taken. He played, of course, Wimbledon in 2022, and now he's won it just 1 time later. So in fact, this is pretty amazing when you think about it. Alcaraz was supposed to be weakest on grass. This would be the 1 Grand Slam where he'd struggled the most. Everyone saw him as being, let's say, heir apparent to Rafael Nadal, in the sense that he was going to be someone who dominated clay, maybe won a few elsewhere, but would take some time to get acclimatized to grass. Yet, just 2 attempts after his debut, he's already won a Wimbledon, and that in itself shows that Alcaraz truly is the real deal. Yes, we know the small statistics, and of course, Alcaraz will have to have the kind of consistency and dominance that the big 3 had. He has to be able to match the likes, or at least come close to matching the likes of Federer, Nadal and Djokovic, and that is not an easy task. Tennis fans don't realize how lucky they were to have 3 athletes of that caliber, who, if placed in different generations, would be considered the GOAT of their generations unquestionably. That is how lucky tennis fans have been. The fact that Alcaraz, as we said, is coming close to or even outwitting them in certain ways, or out defeating them, it is massive. And as I said, fitness is the only thing that really stands in his way. Fitness and consistency. So far, he's shown consistency, because again, after winning the 2022 US Open, he ended up missing the ATP finals, the year ender. He missed Australian Open, looked a bit undercooked in the French Open, but once he's in full match flow, he would look like he was sublime. He looked like he was never going to get tired. And it also looks like right now he'd be the favorite to actually clinch a second US Open and a third Grand Slam overall. At least that's how I feel about it. What do you guys think? You can let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, tap that bell icon, leave us a comment, follow us on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook, and don't forget to download the AajTak app as well. Plus, if you're already on the channel, go ahead, check out some other videos that we've done. But for now, from my side, it's goodbye.